It's a presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Ohio.
Last night, bottom of the ninth inning, the man replacing Jay Bruce, who was traded the day before, and Scott Schebler, a monster home run to right field with two aboard. A game winner, a walk-off win for the Redlegs over the Cardinals. A beautiful night in downtown Cincinnati, and it looks like another pretty good crowd rolling in tonight. Game 2 of this series. If the Reds win tonight, it is 6 straight series they will have won since the All-Star break. Hi again, everybody. Alongside Chris Welsh and Jim Day, Tom Brenneman. Delighted to have you with us for Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio. And Scott Schebler was sent out on May the 8th. There were big expectations for him after he came over in a deal during the offseason. It didn't work out early in the year, but now, Chris, another chance.
You know, the Schebler, when I spoke with him in spring training and then in the beginning of the year, he's the kind of guy that puts a lot of pressure on himself. And sometimes you go out there and you try too hard because you're afraid if you don't get a home run tonight, I'm not going to be in the lineup tomorrow. They have told Scott Schebler that he is going to get a lot of playing time here on out. In fact, he's going to be just about an everyday player against lefties and righties, so that should take a little bit of the pressure off that players put on themselves, because if he can swing the bat like that, man, oh man, is that some kind of power.
All right, so maybe a turnaround for Schebler after an early part of the season that didn't go his way. How about a turnaround tonight for the highly touted young left-hander in the Reds organization? Came over again in a trade, the Johnny Cueto deal last year, for Cody Reed.
You know, one of the hardest things to do in sports for young athletes is back off a little bit. All your life, all you've tried to do if you're Cody Reed is throw the ball as hard as you can. And believe me, he's been throwing the ball by people every step of the way until you get to the major leagues. When you get at this level, these guys can turn around that fastball. It's where command is important, changing speeds is important, staying on top of that breaking ball. You can break it down however you want, but he has shown enough glimpses of possible greatness that they're going to continue to give him the ball from here on out. So maybe this will be the night Cody Reed gets it all together, has some defense behind him, and gets some run support too.
Well, you see, he's given up the 10 home runs in 35 innings, and really that is the MO of this St. Louis Cardinals team. They're beating people by hitting home runs.
Well, they're a home run hitting team. Obviously, they did it last night. They can hit it the other way. Even Adam Wainwright went deep last night. But it's the ball club that they don't hit home runs if you make good pitches on them. I mean, they're like everybody else. So this is where Cody Reed has to make sure that he stays down in the zone. Don't provide the elevation, because the Cardinals will provide the power.
All right, when we come back, the number is 16 and counting for a couple of big stars in each team's lineup tonight. Votto and Yachty. Jim Day has that and more. Jim Day going to bring you up to speed on Joey Votto when we come back.
We are going to see temperatures back into those 80s. We'll be around 86 by the first pitch, but we may be dealing with an isolated downpour at least early in the game. Otherwise, a dry game, and hopefully we get a win. Let's go Reds.
All right, I'm Jim Day on the field. Reds looking for a series victory tonight, and they're going to have to get past a hot-hitting Yadier Molina. If you look at the top of current hitting streaks in Major League Baseball, they're both in this game. Yadier Molina extended his hitting streak to 16 games last night. He's batting .367 over that hitting streak. He's also doubled in 8 straight games, and he leads MLB with 8 straight multi-hit games. Joey Votto has matched him, a 6-game hitting streak for Joey. A career-high 16 games, batting .519, 28 for 54 during his hitting streak, and he has been unbelievable. If you told me that he would be having an on-base percentage on August 3rd of .425, I would have thought you were crazy, because look at the start he got off to. After a month into the season, he was 73rd in the National League in on-base percentage and slowly climbed the charts. 54th on June 1st, 15th in the league on July 1st, and now on top with a .425 on-base percentage. That just shows you the last couple months completely on fire. The Reds could use him tonight, because if the Reds win, always sweet to beat the Cardinals in a series. But 6 is even sweeter when you consider it will be their 6th consecutive series victory. Tom and Chris are next.
Tonight for 23-year-old Cody Reed, graduated from Horn Lake, Mississippi High School. A second-round pick of the Royals in 2013, came to the Reds in the Cueto deal a year ago. Cardinals batting under Mike Matheny, Tommy Pham in center, Jerko down at third, Piscotty in right. Matt Holliday just off the DL in left field. Brandon Moss off the DL is at first base. Johnny Peralta the shortstop. A latter third of Yadier Molina in that hitting streak. Garcia the second baseman. Waka on the mound. What does Cody Reed need to do better to get win number 1?
Well, I think he needs to command the fastball, throw it over the plate early in the count, but keep it down for the most part. The Cardinals have not seen him, and that would give Reed an advantage right out of the get-go, at least the first time through the order. Last thing you want to do, though, is pitch yourself into hitter's count, so be aggressive in the zone early.
Reed pitched in 71 minor league games before finally being brought up to the major leagues. He made his debut on the 18th of June in Houston. And that one shot into left field, a base hit to start things by Tommy Pham. The Reds on defense presented by Ford. Again, no Zach Cozart injuring that ring finger prior to the game here last night. Tyler Holt will start in center field in place of Billy Hamilton. Everybody else pretty much the same as last night. There's a base hit up the left field line on the first pitch to Jerko. Pham on his way to third. They will hold him there. Single and a double through the first two batters of the night.
Well, so far they've hit a changeup for a single. That was what Pham did. And that first pitch fastball at 94 looks like it's down in the zone. But you got to figure that Jerko, who's a very good fastball hitter, he's got short arms, likes the ball on the inner part of the plate, just turns on that ball and rips it hard down the line. You know, if you're Cody Reed now, you're thinking, all right, you know, yes, I do want to keep that from scoring any at all, but damage control is the biggest thing. Don't let this inning get out of hand. Give them one, but no more.
Second and third, nobody out, and here's Stephen Piscotty. Swing and a miss. 18 home runs, and he shares a team high with Holiday, 59 runs batted in.
I would imagine that the Cardinals early on are going to come out swinging hard. They're going to expect Reed to throw a lot of early count fastballs, and that first pitch there to Piscotty was a changeup.
Hard biting, looked like a slider, although it had a lot of velocity to it at 92 miles per hour. It moved like a slider anyway.
Whatever it is, throw it again.
Yeah. What, maybe a cut fastball of some kind?
Maybe if you can't name it, they can't hit it.
I mean, you don't see a lot of sliders at 92. Well, he came right back with it. That one at 90. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Well, you saw a few of those when you were telecasting games down in Arizona. There was a big, tall left-hander that pitched for the Diamondbacks that was pretty good at throwing that slider down and in.
And you saw a few of those with number 49 out of the Reds bullpen for a long time, and Mr. Dibble.
No doubt.
Here's a 1-2. Again, came down and in. Very good location, and rolling it foul. Piscotty to hang around. This guy is deadly with runners in scoring position. In fact, that is the very best batting average in such situations in all of the National League.
Well, they've tried in on Piscotty, and he looks to me by where he steps that he's a guy that you might be able to go down and away if you throw a nice little changeup right here. Really never gets quite back to square with his front foot.
Pham at third, Jerko the runner at second base, and that is high. So after getting ahead at 1 ball and 2 strikes, the count has gone full on the Cardinal right fielder Piscotty. Holiday waits. Back to the mound, and they have the runner Pham in a rundown. Barnhart will feed to Jesus, who makes a tag. The rundown lasted long enough for Jerko, of course, to advance to third, but Piscotty to go all the way to second, but they get a key out.
Well, the whole key here is to try to get the rundown over before the runner is able to go back to second and third. And as soon as you give the ball up right here, you know, I guess you might just want to say Pham did a good job. The Reds didn't close the gap quickly enough, and it was a heads-up play by Piscotty, who never stopped going around first. So, same situation as if you got a pop-up in the infield, a strikeout, or a ground ball back to the pitcher who retired him at first. But 1 out and a third of the way out of the inning.
Matt Holliday, 59 runs batted in. Very low batting average on Holliday, like at 236. But of course, he's on the long side of late 30s now in his career. It has been an outstanding career for Matt Holliday. 17 hits shy of 2,000 in his career. well over 1,000 runs batted in. 1 ball, 1 strike.
It clipped him. I think he got him right on that back foot. I don't even know if it got him enough, except maybe on the uniform. Watch the pant leg as that ball goes by, and yep.
The bases are loaded for Brandon Moss. Boy, what a return for him last night from the disabled list. Not only for Moss, but also for their shortstop, Johnny Peralta. Moss 3 hits, a single, a double, and a home run. Done major league damage in just 6 games against the Reds so far this year, wearing a Cardinal uniform after virtually nothing in nearly 45 games prior.
This might be the right guy at the right time for Cody Reed. Reed has to be positive here. Keep the ball down. Think about getting a double play ball.
He looked like he went around. He did. 1 and 2. You figure this to be the action pitch, because Reed would prefer not to go to 3 balls and 2 strikes with the bases loaded. So this figures to be the pitch he tries to beat Moss with whatever he thinks is his best chance. We'll do it again. And it looks like, Chris, he thinks it's that slider down and away.
Well, you see how Moss just reached to be able to stay alive on that pitch. He's in a defensive mode right now. The key for Reed, though, is to stay on top of the slider. Don't let it flatten out on you. Keep your fingers on top of that baseball and drive it down.
Jerko, Piscotty, Holiday, Aboy. And it's in the air and once more out of play. It remains at 2 balls and 2 strikes, just underway here in the opening inning. Moss again on a 2-2 count. Fastball stays high, so it goes full with the bases loaded. Seven pitches so far in this at bat. And now number 8 as Reed tries to put Moss away. Instead, it's in the air, left center field towards the gap, and that's up against the wall. 2 runs will score. They will hold Holiday on a 2-run double by Brandon Moss.
You know, Tom, when that count went 2 balls and 2 strikes, you called it the action pitch. I like to call it the decision pitch, because what happens on a 3-2 count is that you have to come in there for a strike, and that's when you get the action. And you don't want to give the hitter that opportunity. Moss has seen a lot of pitchers, as you said, 7 in the at bat, and just stays with that fastball and drives it the other way.
Well, I mentioned Moss coming back last night off the disabled list. The same holds true for Johnny Peralta. He missed more than 2 weeks worth of games with a strain in a ligament on his left thumb.
And that's probably why the Cardinals were not very active in the trade market there right up until the deadline, knowing that they were going to get some good players back off the DL.
You know, you thought maybe 2 starts ago in the game here at home against Atlanta on the 19th of July, when Cody Reed went 6 innings, allowed 5 hits, 2 runs, and struck out 5, that, you know, maybe even though he didn't get the win in that game, The Reds lost that game in 11 innings. That maybe he was starting to figure a few things out. And even he admitted he was very disappointed in his last start, which came in San Francisco. That was the only game the Reds lost in that 3-game series, and Reed gave up 6 runs, 5 earned, 9 hits in 5 innings. 2-2 to Peralta. 3-2. Tapper to short. Nice play by DeJesus, and they cut down the runner. Holiday trying to score from third. That is a beautiful play by Ivan DeJesus.
Boy, there's no better way to describe it, because it is a thing of beauty. When he comes in a couple of steps and then times the backhand perfectly, a short hop backhand, and then comes up and throws a strike to Barnard. Boy, that was a close play at the plate. That's as good as it gets right there for any shortstop.
Get another look at it and easily applying the tag. Holiday never touched the plate, but what a play by Ivan. Well done. One more out to go. Yadier Molina, as Jim Day talked about right before the game, comes in with a 16-game hitting streak, during which he's batted .367.
This guy is so good at shooting the ball to right field. If he's probably looking fastball here, he's thinking about pushing it to the other side.
'30th pitch of this opening inning for Reed is a fastball on a 2-0 count, a called strike.
That dugout never looked so inviting.
Runner will not try and advance from third. Moss, although Peralta will advance first to second. And that was ball 4 to Molina, so it doesn't matter anyway. Still in search of that third out here in the opening inning.
Yeah, both outs in this inning have been made between third base and home. And it's a good time really for Matt Jenkins to come out there. I mean, Reed needs a breather. I mean, this is all a mental thing for Cody Reed right now. I'm sure that after the first 2 reach base, the first thought that goes through your mind is, uh-oh, here we go again. And all you can do is conjure up negative thoughts, and you get swirled up in it. So you take a little bit of a breather, you take your concentration off the scoreboard right now, and you focus completely on the batter in the batter's box.
And that batter is second baseman Greg Garcia. His 57th game of the year. He's been getting a lot of playing time in place of their regular the last couple of years, and Colton Wong has just fallen upon terrible times offensively. First pitch, base hit into center field. That'll score 2 more. And it is 4-0 St. Louis here in the top of the first inning.
Now looking for something early in the count, and he hits it very sharply, does Greg Garcia. And Phillips can't even get close to it.
Right-hander Josh Smith begins to get loose in the Reds bullpen. 4 runs, 4 hits, a walk, a hit batting through the front 8 hitters. And now the pitcher Michael Wacha, who only has 1 hit all year long in 36 at bats.
You know you're going good as a pitcher when you bat in the first inning.
You could almost see it in the body language of Cody Reed when Mac Jenkins came out. Reed never looked him eye to eye, staring straight down at the ground during the entire conversation, almost in a defeatist-like posture. Tapper to short, and mercifully it's over. A 4-run top of the first inning. The Reds have work to do. Brought to you by Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network. Stay close to CincinnatiUSA.com, and by Skyline Chili. Feeling good. It's Skyline time. Reds trail 4-0 as they come to bat last of the first inning. Ryan Price fills out his lineup card like this. Holt to lead off. Suarez in the 2-hole. Votto red hot at first. Duvall a home run here last night. Brandon bats 5th. Schebler, the game winner, will hit 6th. DeJesus, Barnhart, and Reed the latter 3rd. Against right-hander Michael Wacha.
Wacha has had some injury problems over the last couple of years, and he has not been the pitcher this year that he started off to be when he first broke into the major leagues. However, Wacha is still a very young man, and he's turned it around over his last 10 starts. He's 4-1, earned run average very good over that period of time. And he's coming off an outing against the Miami Marlins where he picked up a win, allowed 3 runs in 6 innings.
His last 9 games for Wacha, 4-1 record, and that ERA Chris talked about coming down. It's under 3.5. And in his last 9 starts, 7 of them have been quality starts. 6 or more innings, 3 or more runs allowed. Hold at 217, 115 at bats so far this year. 1 ball, 1 strike. Holt making his 21st start of the year. 3 in left field. His 14th in center. 4 games in right. He has not started a game in almost 2 months. The 19th of June, the last time Holt started a game. That's quite a while for a backup player. Doesn't matter if you're the 5th outfielder or the 6th extra infielder.
I can't remember really when the last time he was in the ball game for more than maybe a pinch running duty or perhaps an inning of playing defense. Reds, of course, when they've won all their series, the last 5 series they've won, you know, pretty much gone with the same guys.
Hot smash off the third baseman Jerko's mitt. That'll be a base hit for Holt.
At least he's not using up his hits in batting practice. This ball shot nearly undresses the third baseman down there. That's a changeup, it looks like, that Waka used to have as his calling card. He just got it up, and Holt puts a very nice flat swing on it.
Eugenio Suarez at 236, 17 home runs, 48 runs batted in. Suarez 0 for 3 with a walk here last night. He comes up empty, strike 1. Cardinals at 56 and 50. They have done most of their damage on the road. Very odd. Cardinals traditionally among the very best teams at home year in and year out. They're 5 games under 500 at Busch Stadium.
Can't be making people there at Cardinal Nation very happy.
No, they're 11 games over 500 on the road. Go figure that. Best road record in all of Major League Baseball. And just a little more than a handful of teams with a worse home record than St. Louis. The Reds are not one of those teams. The Reds are 3 games under 500 at home. Short right center. This will fall for a hit. And Holt could read that all the way. He will easily advance on to third. So the Reds now trying to answer the Cardinals' 4-run top of the first inning. They're on the corners for the hottest hitter in the league.
Tommy Pham is in center field this tonight, and he's playing Suarez very deep. So Suarez gets that ball in on him a little bit. He gives it a big swing, momentarily freezes the outfielder. And by the time Pham that can get going, that ball is going to fall in no man's land.
Joey Votto, a 16-game hitting streak, a hit in every game since the All-Star break at a .519 clip. 28 hits in his last 54 at-bats. 3 doubles, 4 homers. You throw in 17 walks along the way. It is the longest hitting streak of his career by 1 game. Votto, a monster night here last night. 4 for 4, also walked, knocked in a run. And you see his numbers against Waka. Extremely good. Two and one. Pulled in there with a changeup, it looked like. 2 balls and 2 strikes now to Votto. They're on the corners with none out.
That's Waka's signature pitch. When he first broke on the scene, he was a guy that had an overpowering fastball as hard as 96. He's now slowed down a little bit on the heater. But that changeup's coming back around a little bit. That's been the big change for him over the last 10 starts.
Try to get him to chase it again. He does not.
And most guys would chase it. But that's really what separates Joey Votto from so many other major league hitters. He just does not chase very many pitches out of the zone.
Well, with none out, do you start Suarez on a 3-2 pitch? We'll see. Here comes the payoff. He is running. And a bouncing ball into right field, a base hit. Scoring is Holt. Suarez on to third. Joey Votto's hitting streak, a career best 17 in a row.
Votto gets enough of it on a ground ball that finds a hole. You see the second baseman playing in a couple of steps shallow. And the Reds have reached the first three, so they answer right back after the Cardinals put up 4. We might be into one of those games tonight.
It's interesting to note that was the first plate appearance by Votto with multiple runners on base in a week. And he delivers the goods with a bouncer into right field. 4-1 game, and here's Duvall. An all-star for the first time, and this is his first full year in the big leagues. Club his 26th home run of this season here last night. A 2-run shot. One of his 2 hits on the night. Two. A big one last night for Duvall. Gave the Reds a lead late. Well, what a wild game that was. It was an exciting game to watch. Back and forth. Reds had huge chances seemingly every other inning. Vaughn swinging Duvall for the first out of the inning. You know, you thought, Chris, when the Reds wasted that bases loaded, no one out situation in the 8th, that, well, maybe it wasn't going to be their night. But then this guy right here, or at least coming out of the dugout, in Schebler, he laid into one down the line. It stayed fair, and everybody went home happy. Brandon recently had a 16-game hitting streak come to an end. That was over the weekend in San Diego. He does have hits in 17 of his last 19. Ball 1.
You know, the Reds have reached the first 3 in this inning. But the difference between Wacha and Cody Reed is that Wacha's thrown first pitch strikes here once he's reached these first 3 hitters. And instead of going to a 2-0 count, he goes to an 0-2 count, and you get the hitter in more of a defensive mode. And it might just be a couple of years of experience that helps a young pitcher like Michael Wacha do that compared to a rookie in Cody Reed.
Of course, we saw Wacha burst on the scene. He was throwing strike 1 to everybody. He was one of those rare pitchers as soon as he came to the big leagues. He was sensational right from the start.
He sure was. And the thing that made him so good is that he had an overpowering fastball, as I said back in those days, 94 to 96, and a really good changeup. But along the way, with some arm problems, he lost that changeup, began to throw more of a curveball. And now, little by little, he's getting that changeup back, and that's the pitch that's going to make him good or not.
Jerko will get 1, and Phillips able to leg out the relay throw to first. Scoring from third is Suarez, so 4-0 has become 4-2 with Schebler coming up.
I'll tell you, that's a great play by Jerko down there at third base to get the lead runner. He backhanded that ball, went nearly into left field by the time he released it. Just a good solid play to get the lead man. I'll tell you, running down the baseline, I can tell you that Brandon Phillips is not healthy. He's not a guy that's going to complain about injuries, but his toe is still bothering him. And he'll tell you privately that it's hard to hit like that when your feet aren't solid as a foundation. But he's a guy that's played through a lot more painful injuries than the one he's carrying around right now.
A broken hand already this year. Hot smash by Moss, who's upset with himself that he didn't get it. Phillips on his way to third, and Schebler, after a 3-hit game last night, a base hit his first time up tonight.
Tell you what, if nothing else, the Cardinals ought to have realized after that long home run that Schebler hit last night, and that ball right there, that he can handle the high pitch. Guy's built a little bit like Kyle Schwarber. In fact, he Schwarberized that ball last night to win the game.
Yes, he did. Schwarber, the kid from up in Hamilton, Ohio, just north of Cincinnati. They brought him to the big leagues last year. He showed up in his hometown, and they're still looking for balls downriver after hanging out in his hometown for 3 days. Hey, speaking of Cincinnati kids, Andrew Benintendi is making his first major league start tonight. He came into a game in the 7th inning last night, went 0 for 2. But the Madeira High School alum will start for the first time for the Red Sox tonight.
They called him right up out of Double-A. Benintendi, his numbers in the minor leagues just really good, especially when it comes to his walks and strikeouts. Had very good strike zone control, and that's the reason why they advanced him so quickly.
Will now be the 30th pitch in his first inning for Waka. 30+ for Reed in the top of the inning. Three and one on De Jesus, who, when given the chance to play this month or July, now that we've turned it into August, but he was nearly a .350 batter in 16 games, was Ivan. Tardy there on a fastball, and it's 3-2. That fastball at 95.
Yeah, it's funny, last night, that 8th inning when the Reds had bases loaded, nobody out, and then De Jesus came up with bases loaded and 1 out. He did ground into a double play. That's what it says in the scorebook. But he hit that ball very sharply, but it happened to be right at the shortstop. A couple of feet either way, and he's a hero.
Bouncer to Jerko, and that will end the inning. But after giving up 4 in the top of the first, the Reds get 2 in the bottom of the inning. So a 2-run game. We're off to inning number 2. full coverage of Major League Baseball, Mr. Welsh. Some of the National League contending teams and the deadline deals they put together. Any one stand out more so for you than others?
Well, I like what the Dodgers did. You know, they decided to make a move. They end up getting Reddick and Hill from Oakland. I like both of those players a lot. And I also like what the New York Mets did. I like the fact that they picked up Jonathan Neese again. Of course, Jay Bruce, I think if he continues to stay hot, he can really help that ball club. Although I thought it was kind of an interesting fit for the Mets because I'm not so sure that they really needed another outfielder. Of course, with Cespedes coming off the list here and being healthy. So we'll see how it works. Now, what team's got in return, I can't tell you. And I don't think anybody can. And anybody who says, well, you know, they didn't get nearly enough when you're talking about 2 prospects, well, how do you know when a kid's 19 years old?
Hey, you know, speaking of one of those prospects, and we were talking a minute ago about Andrew Benintendi from Madeira High School. Remember, we were talking about my neighbor the other day, Eric Swanson, a Double-A All-Star this year, was drafted by the Texas Rangers. He was one of the 2 big prospects in the Carlos Beltran deal. Went to the New York Yankees. So we wish him well. I sent him a text earlier this morning. I'm like, man, the New York Yankees. You know all about that, Chris Welsh.
And I really don't know. I came up in their minor leagues.
I know, but you were in their system. You were the Yankees. Nice play by Suarez to throw out Pham to begin the inning.
Well, we've seen some pretty good defensive plays already by third baseman. I can tell you this from having some friends who did play with the Yankees. If you can get a couple of years there in New York, it will change your life. You'll always be invited back. And that's a special thing. Nothing wrong with that play.
By the way, Eric Swanson, I mentioned a moment ago, he is from Marymount High School. We had a young man from Mason High School via the University of Pittsburgh this year that was a #1 pick in the Major League Baseball draft. So the greater Cincinnati area still producing top flight Major League talent. Jerko in the air, and it's out of play. Well, we saw the National League. What about the American League? Boy, how about the Rangers? They are really going for it, aren't they? Look at the acquisitions made by Texas.
I love Lucroy and Jeffries. I know them very well. I think Beltran obviously has shown himself to be a late season, postseason type player. Yeah, they were very active. That doesn't mean the teams that didn't do anything at all are automatically losers. But really, what mystifies me every year is why it comes down to the last 2 hours before the deadline. I mean, I can tell you, I have no sympathy. I mean, not 1 ounce of sympathy at all for those people who do their Christmas shopping on Christmas Eve. If they don't find a present that they want to buy, it's their own fault. And it's the same way with general managers that wait to the last hour to try to get something done. In fact, if I was a GM, I'd tell everybody who's interested, don't even call me on the last day. We're closing shop at noon the day before. We're going on vacation. Why make these guys hang in the wind like that? They're players.
Suarez again backed up, a long, strong throw right on the money, and Suarez back-to-back dandies to begin this inning.
I'll tell you what, if you ever thought or had any wonderment whether Suarez had enough arm to play third base, look at these throws. I made a quick release too.
Two up, two down for Cody Reed. After facing the last 2 batters in the first inning, he had given up a single and a double, and then shortly thereafter 4 runs, 4 hits, a hit, batter, and a walk. Now 2 down, none on. And here's Piscotty. He bounced into a fielder's choice in that first inning. Straight up in the air, and Cody Reed, a nice bounce back second inning. He gave up 4 in the first. He mows him down in order in the second. And the Reds are coming up down a pair. Show. It is our Fox Sports Ohio Spectacular ticket offer. You can get a bleacher ticket for any of the Dodgers games. That's here at Great American Ballpark, August 19th, 20th, 21st, 22nd for $9. Go to Reds.com/FSOhio and use the promo code FSOhio. So Reds.com/FSOhio, promo code FSOhio. Bleacher seat, any game of the Dodgers series for $9. 1-1 on Tucker Barnhart as we begin the second inning.
I don't think that was a fake bunt attempt there by Barnhart. Obviously, he pulled the bat back because the pitch was going to hit him. But, I mean, neither corner infielder were playing anywhere close. Now, he's brought the third baseman, Jerko, in a little bit.
Barnhart, over the last month of playing time for him, has been nearly a .290 batting. Here's a bouncer to the right side, and Barnhart retired. Reed coming up, 1 gone, 4-2 St. Louis leads. We're in the second.
Really, one of the questions the Reds have to answer is, can Tucker Barnhart handle the catching duties full time? I mean, going forward for years, if in the event that Devin Mesoraco can't handle that, are they going to go out and try to acquire another catcher? Or are they happy with Tucker? I'll tell you one thing, the pitchers love throwing to him.
And look, when you go back and look at his minor league numbers, and Chris, I remember us sitting up here and talking about Tucker Barnhart as he was making his way through the minor leagues and how great he was defensively. But look, his batting average numbers, his on-base percentage numbers, his power numbers, they were not that of what you would consider to be an everyday caliber offensive major league catcher. But the way he's played as this season continues to go on, I'm asking you, do you think it's been a surprise how much better he's been on offense, or not really?
I think that he if he stays within himself, he can be a good quality hitting catcher. But I mean, he's not going to be Buster Posey, and he's not going to be Jonathan Lucroy. But I can tell you that how many years did you know, we had Ryan Hanigan behind the plate full time, right? He was not an offensive juggernaut, but he handled the pitching staff extremely well. I'd much rather have a catcher. If your catcher's going to bat 8th, give me a guy that handles the pitching staff, because what he gives you defensively is going to be more than a guy who boxes it up behind the plate can give you offensively.
And you saw Devin Mesoraco sitting down there in the Reds dugout right alongside Joey Votto. They went back in there and repaired his other hip. Missed all of last year. The surgery on one side, and And after he was injured this year, they went ahead and fixed the impingement in the other hip.
And maybe that comes out completely clean and he feels wonderful when he's able to come back. I don't think that he'll be ready by spring training, but maybe the first couple of months of the season next year, hey, he may be able to come back and catch. You really don't know. He certainly hopes so, and I think the Reds are counting on it at this point based on what the doctors have told them.
Well, they basically have had very little return on that investment. There's a 4-pitch walk to Holt, who's been aboard twice in the game now. That's a first walk tonight by Walker. You may remember the one, and I'm not going to call it full year because Mesoranco did not play a full year. He was on the disabled list twice in 2014, though he did hit 25 home runs and drove in 80. The Reds gave him that 4-year contract, and he basically has been injured for 2 full years now. So the Reds need him back. Here's Suarez representing the tying run.
A couple of former teammates down there at first base. Both Tyler Holt and Brandon Moss were teammates when they played together last year in Cleveland for a short period of time. And they have had a running conversation. I mean, ever since Holt got on there to start the bottom of the first inning off. Hey, remember what I was telling you last year? I never got to finish that conversation because they traded me.
I don't know if you're surprised at all by Moss, but I remember when he first came over to the Pirates, he couldn't do anything. And to look at where he has been since then, it doesn't even seem like it's the same guy. 1-1 on Suarez. Jammed a bit with that pitch. It'll stay in the yard and should end the inning. It does. We play 2. St. Louis 4 and the Reds 2.
To welcome in, she is the leader of the mighty Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network for our semi-regular visits. She is Linda Antis. How are we doing?
We're doing great. And how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Every day at the ballpark's a good day. Come on through, no problem. I'm just on live TV here.
Oh, tonight it's beautiful.
All right, let's talk about, you got this sweepstakes campaign going on with some dorky TV guy.
You have been quite a tourist in our own town, haven't you?
I have. I've been lots and lots of places lately, showing that I am not very graceful. Went to the Cincinnati Ballet. That was a lesson. Been to the museums, and I've been everywhere, thanks to you.
Well, and we're going to keep it up. But what's interesting is not only what you're doing, if you're a visitor in our town, or if you're a resident, take some pictures, post them to our Instagram or our Twitter account. Hashtag Jim's Day Off, and you can win prizes.
That is beautiful, and a lot of people have taken advantage of that, and I think it's cool for people to go around, take their own pictures. Let's face it, everyone in the world takes pictures now. Win a little prize at the end.
Post them up, and if you go to CincinnatiUSA.com/Jim's Day Off, I can never say that fast. You'll find out what the prizes are and how to actually enter.
And you can also see the commercials as well, as you see airing here during Reds games. Let's talk about this area around the ballpark. We keep continuing to talk about there's so much to do down here, and when this park first opened it wasn't that way, but there's a lot going on down here.
It's incredible. The energy level around with the kind of the river and our central business district and this ballpark as the heart and soul. There's so much energy. You look at the banks, the wonderful restaurants. You look at Smale Riverfront Park right along our front door. Oh, so many exciting things. You see so many families. You see people of all different ages down at Smale Riverfront Park. But, you know, in addition to that, we're a region. You cross that river, you can walk across the Purple People Bridge, you can go to Newport on the Levee and have wonderful meals, or bowl a little bit, or do some fun things over there like the aquarium. It's just a wonderful burgeoning area where the Renaissance just keeps going on.
Well, I try to not only talk the talk but walk the walk. I'm a resident right now of the bank, so I take in Smale Riverfront Park a lot, walking the dog, the restaurants around here. It is terrific being down here. It doesn't even have to be on a game night as Holiday shoots one down the right field line. Let's talk about the Cincinnati Zoo. He's going for second base, and he is out. Big play, Linda Antis. Nice job. Cardinals might take a look at that. Tell you what, Tom, let's go upstairs to you while they do this.
No, don't worry about it, Jim. Take it away with Linda. She's always one of our favorite segments, and whether or not Mike Matheny decides to challenge us or not, it looks like he's not, based on the language of Matt Holliday, who's making his way back into the dugout, and he is clearly out. So, Jim, one of our favorite people with you, tell Linda we said hello.
Tom Brenneman and Chris Welsh send their best. They say hello. He said you're one of their favorite people, so.
Same here. Hi, guys.
He wouldn't say it unless he means it. Trust me on this one. Let's talk about the Cincinnati Zoo, because there is a terrific new exhibit there, is there not?
Absolutely. So imagine 2 4,000-pound vegetarians.
Chris Welsh? No, wait, he doesn't weigh that much, but I know he is a vegetarian.
No, actually, they're the Nile hippos, Henry and Bibi. They just arrived last week. They spent a lot of their time underwater, so the viewing area is actually from the underwater view. But they're so wonderful. 4,000-pound vegetarians? Imagine that. You just got to go see it. It's a wonderful attraction at the Cincinnati Zoo and Botanical Garden.
Well, tell everyone where they can check out all the information on everything that the Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network is doing.
At CincinnatiUSA.com.
Linda, as always, thank you. Thank you for everything you guys have done for the city and the region.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Tom, let's go back up to you.
Alrighty, Jim, another hard hit ball first by Holliday, who's thrown out at second, and now Brandon Moss smokes one that nearly left the yard. That'll be a sliding double for Moss with one out here in the inning. Well, Linda Antis, every time you're around her, Chris, and we've been around her a lot, she is always in a great mood.
I've never seen her not in a mood to laugh and just smile all the time.
She's just awesome.
Well, she's done a perfect job for that as an ambassador for the city. They do a great job when they support our Reds caravan. We go all to different reaches of Reds country, and CincinnatiUSA.com is right there. And of course, they help our main man Jim Day stay employed by sending him out on the streets and putting that tourist hat on, and
he's everywhere.
He is everywhere.
That's the second time that's happened in the game. One time on ball 4, where the pitch wasn't in the dirt. And it's not anywhere near Barnhart Or actually right next to Barnhart in this case. The other one was not.
I think Cody Reed's got a live arm, obviously. And you got to concentrate a little bit. Maybe even a little bit more when a ball like that takes off.
That is a pitch that so far from Cody Reed, we've not seen him be able to make to right-handed batters. That fastball where he's trying to bury it on the inside corner. He's missing way in on that pitch. That one away, 3-1.
And if that's the case, Tom, and if I'm instructing Barnhart, I'm telling him don't move behind the plate. Just stay in one spot. Let Reed throw to your shin guards. If he wants to throw it down and in, throw it down and into that shin guard.
They're going to get another out at the plate. That is the third time they've cut down a runner between third down and home, and we're only in the third inning. And again, DeJesus is there.
Nice backhand by Ivan DeJesus Jr. I mean, he gets nice and low on that. So he reads the bounce of the ball. He gets right down and makes sure that he catches it. Boy, they love that contact play in St. Louis.
So still a 4-2 ball game. Runner at first, 2 outs in the inning, and here's Yadier Molina, who walked his first time up. All the scoring in this one came in the opening frame. A short way for Suarez, and that's all. It turns out to be a scoreless inning. 4 batters, 2 of them have hits, but 1 cut down to the plate. Four-gamer, and thanks to Reach Magazine, you can catch all the action and save with a 4 for $48 ticket offer. You get 4 view level tickets, 4 Reds hats for only $48. 513-381 REDS, or visit Reds.com/4 for $48. 4-2 ball game. Waka and the Cardinals in front, got 4 runs in the first. Reds got a pair in the bottom of the inning. And now the Reds have the heart of the order coming up. Votto, Duvall, and Phillips. 8 consecutive plate appearances. Joey Votto has reached base safely. Second time he's done it this year. The longest streak, 1 away. 9 in a row in 2013. Can he match that right here and right now? He extended his hitting streak. His first time up to a career best 17 in a row for Votto. 1-1.
You know, I think one of the things that really helps Joey Votto mentally is the fact that he works so hard at his craft. I mean, he is in the batting cages early in the afternoon. He's got a regimen that he follows every day. He lifts weights every game after the ball game. I mean, the guy is just completely dedicated. And so when you're on a run like he's on right now, for instance, the on-base streak, you work that hard and you feel like you deserve it because you put the time in. The guys that don't work that hard, it just comes to them very easily. Maybe somewhere down the road they think, well, maybe I don't deserve this great success. Compared to these other guys, I'm not working as hard, but you can never say that about Votto.
No, you cannot. Slow roller foul. We've told the story many, many times about how, you know, on a road trip here, road trip there, you'll have a very late game the night before, you know, maybe 10, 12, 14 in a game. You get up the next morning, go down to jump on the treadmill or get in the gym. Votto's already beat you there by an hour and a half.
I never see him. Of course, I'm hanging out in the coffee bar. Send me by some morning. I got to buy him a latte.
Well, at least if you're going to be at a bar, it may as well be a coffee bar the next morning. I'd be a little worried if you told me something different. That one's right at the first baseman, and that's 1 away to begin the third inning. Of course, that might depend on whether you're playing that night or not.
Well, we all prepare in different ways.
Yes, sir. Duvall smashes one into left center field, and a sliding grab out there by Holiday. So the veteran still moving around out there in left field. That's a good play.
It's a good ball player. I mean, this guy, he adjusts. He adjusts at the plate as well as anybody in the league, and he is just good enough in the outfield that he doesn't cost you much. I mean, I don't know how many plays like that he's going to make every week. But right there, if that ball gets by him, you're looking at a double and a couple of tough hitters coming up.
Holiday, 36 years young. Broke in originally with Colorado back in 2004. A lifetime .307 batter. Slow roller, and that will trickle into center field. A base hit for Brandon. So here comes Schebler. Tonight's Lowe's home field advantage. Reds rookies with 3 or more hits, including a walk-off home run in the same game. Both came at home. How about that? The man that Schebler replaced in right field, or in the outfield last night, Jay Bruce, traded the day before. Jay did it in 08. Schebler does it last night. That was the 5th game of Jay Bruce's career when he did that against Atlanta in May of 08.
Well, ideally for the ball club, I mean, we wish Jay Bruce all the best, obviously, because he's a great guy and everything that goes along with it. But you hope that the guy that takes Jay Bruce's spot helps you forget about Jay Bruce.
Bouncer foul. 2-1 to Schebler. Scheffler was sent down after starting the season, of course, with the major league club, but by the Brandon picked off at first base.
Not good.
We played 3. Cardinals lead 4-2.
The players trust to provide transportation for boys and girls from St. Joseph's Orphanage to tonight's game aboard the Fox Sports Ohio Fan Express. It's part of the Buses for Baseball program. This program will provide over 750 youth across the country with an unforgettable ballpark experience this season. And I got to hand it to them. They get free transportation, T-shirts, tickets, food vouchers, and as you can see, they personally got to meet and greet the players, pose for pictures, and get autographs, an experience they might not otherwise get. So kudos to all.
Well, God bless those youngsters indeed. That's a nice play made again by Suarez, who is having a beautiful night at third base in this one.
Well, he's made every kind of play imaginable for a third baseman, gone deep behind the bag, backhand. That time he just tells Reed, get out of the way.
Michael Walker, the batter. And there's a strike. Well, it's nice to see some smiles on those youngsters' faces. I remember as a kid growing up out in Anderson Township, our school bus used to go to a local orphanage every day, pick up kids to go to school. And I don't know about you, Chris, but you know, when you're a youngster, you don't really understand a lot about exactly what that is when you're really, really young. And got to know a number of those kids quite well in the ensuing years and think about them frequently. Good for those youngsters today, and good for the Reds for treating him the way they deserve. Easier time of it for Barnhart. 2 away.
That looks like a different pitcher out there right now for Cody Reed than it was in the first inning. I mean, sometimes things can really get out of hand early. I mean, you come out of the bullpen, you're all hyped up, you hear the national anthem, you take the field. Before you know it, you know, a couple of runners are on base, they score a couple runs, you give up a hit to the number 8 hitter. Now you're down by 4 and it's spiraled completely out of control. But Reed is now in a 2-run ball game. This is no different than being, you know, down 2-0.
Leadoff man Pham for the 3rd time. He led off the game with a single and then robbed of a hit on one of 4 or 5 excellent plays made in the game already tonight by Reds third baseman Eugenio Suarez.
You know, that said about Cody Reed, though, I really believe, I go back to what Robin Roberts told all of his pitchers when we were in college. You know, 3 things about pitching. If the first pitch strikes, you get a decision on a 2-2 count. And you have 2 speeds on your breaking ball. And I think that's one thing that Reed might be lacking just a little bit. I mean, he throws his slider so hard. You said early on, well, what is that pitch? Is that a cutter? Is it a slider? Or is it somewhere like a out-of-control fastball? And I would really like to see Reed get to a point where he stays on top of that breaking ball a little bit and takes a little speed off of it. And then you can use that to drop in on a first pitch. And that hard slider that he throws right now is not yet that pitch. But this all comes with time. Young man just turned 23 years old back in April.
One and 2 on Tommy Pham. Pham grew up in Las Vegas, went to the same high school, Durango High School, as former Red and Cardinal Ryan Ludwig. And signed to play collegiately at Cal State Fullerton before signing with the Cardinals in the 16th round. He's gone on strikes. 4 innings in the books for Cody Reed. And he trails St. Louis in game 2 of this 3-game set, 4-2. On Fox Sports Ohio, brought to you by your local Ford dealer. Ford, go further. And by Cincinnati Children's, changing the outcome together. Picture perfect weather night. It was a humid day. I mean, not terrible, but it was hot, a little bit muggy, but it's turned into a very, very pleasant evening. We're in game 2 of this 3-game series. Reds won the opener last night. If they can win tonight and or tomorrow, they will have won 6 consecutive series since the All-Star break. Each one they have played. Chip put on Schebler as we begin the 4th inning. Schebler was at the plate when Brandon Phillips was picked off to end the last inning. That one hit the other way and run down by Holiday, 1 gone. Schebler was just knocking the cover off the ball down in Louisville over the last 2 months. Had been a .354 batter, on base percentage of .421, slugging percentage of almost .670, and had 12 home runs. He hit .349 or better in each of the last 2 months he was there. 2 months. De Jesus Jr. bounced out to third, his only time up. And a slow roller to the third baseman once more. Tag made, 2 away. Well, if I read, it's a home run off that Toyota sign in right center field. Jeff Gibson. Is that the same Jeff Gibson you and I know?
Well, he doesn't need a Toyota. He's got a plane.
He'll win the beautiful new Tundra on display at Great American Ballpark, and you can register for your chance to win. Just stop by your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealer.
And some horses, I think.
Right? Horses. He's got a Winnebago. All kinds of stuff going on. I don't know. Maybe he's in line for that Toyota. That was quick. 5 pitches for Walker in the 4th.
Team up to offer you a great value this season, the Kroger Meal Deal. Check out concession stands throughout the ballpark for the Kroger Meal Deal, which includes a hot dog, a bag of chips, 16-ounce Coke, and during this homestand, David's sunflower seeds. Make sure you get your Kroger Meal today.
You know, every time we read that promo, and thank you for handling that there for a second, but you know, you talk about the Kroger Meal Deal for $9, and we've got that Fox Sports Ohio ticket special going on during the game tonight, which closes at the end of the game, where you can get a bleacher seat in any of the games against the Dodgers for $9. So when you hear somebody say, hey, look, you know, you go down to a ball game, it's going to cost you, you know, $50, $100 for everybody in the place, it's just simply not true. You can get a $9 bleacher ticket against the Dodgers by just logging on tonight to FS Ohio or Reds.com/FS Ohio, and the password is FS Ohio. That's a promo code. You get the ticket for $9. You get a Kroger Meal Deal for $9. It's a good deal. So come on down and see the Reds take on the Dodgers. Looked like for a little while Jay Bruce was going to end up a Dodger. But Jay Bruce will be coming back here this year because the Mets have a return visit in the month of September. That'll be Monday, Memorial Day. The Mets will be here, that Monday afternoon game, and the night games on Tuesday and Wednesday. 4-2 game. Jerko leads off for the Cardinals here in the 5th. Jerko a double, has scored a run, and like Pham and 2 or 3 other Cardinals robbed of a hit on a good play made by Suarez down at third. 2-2 it remains.
Got to be careful about pitching this guy up and pitching him inside. I mean, you can see the way he swings very aggressively at the last 2 pitches. I mean, if you just scout by body type, hard to get in on him because he's got short arms, so you just keep it down and keep it away.
In the air, right field. It backs up to the wall, leaping, and look who got it, Mr. Schebler. How about that?
He did a nice job of getting back to the wall, and then now it's all about timing, reaching for it, getting up there, and he grabbed that baby back. That was going out of here. He was in left field last night, and Ryan Price said in his pregame show, got to be plastic, man, to bring that one back.
Yeah, no one's going to get this one. This is way out of here off the bat of Piscotty, and that makes it 5-2 St. Louis. Home run number 15 for Piscotty, and that gives him a team best 60 runs batted in.
Right down Broadway. But back to Schebler, he was in left field last night. Duvall moved to right field. Tonight, Schebler goes to right, and Duvall goes back to his familiar left field. Now, Ryan Price said on his radio show last night before the game that he thought that Scott Schebler's arm, translated better to left field than it does right field, meaning that Duvall's got a better arm. But I'm wondering maybe the reason that Brian Price put him in left field, that is Duvall back in left, is that Sun field early in the ball game is very difficult to play. And Duvall has more experience with it than Schebler. And they just didn't want to see a ball early in the game lost in the sun or somebody hasn't been out there. I don't know that to be a fact. I'll try to verify that, but just speculating. But that gave Schebler a chance to go over the wall to grab that home run back.
There's a base hit by Holiday. His second hit, third time he's been on tonight.
If you look at Holiday's hit chart, it's all over the place. I mean, his hit last time, he got thrown out at second, but it was right down the right field line. This time he finds a hole between third and short.
Josh Smith for the second time in the game beginning to get loose in the bullpen as Mac Jenkins, a pitching coach, will come visit the mound. We know there's a lot more to being a good hitter or a great hitter than just batting average. We understand that, and this isn't in any way, shape, or form comparing those two guys as hitters. But we know how good a hitter Joey Votto is. Now, Votto is a much younger man than Holiday. Career batting average for Votto's .311. Career batting average for Holiday's .307. It's only a 4-point spread between the two. There's no contest when you start getting into, on base percentage, things like that. And more than likely, unless Votto were to start knocking in runs at a pace which he has not, at least to this point in his career, Votto would have some work to do to catch Holiday in that category by the time he's the same age. They get one, they get two, and that's all for the Cardinals. They get one run at the end on the home run by Piscotty, and the Cardinals lead by 3. MLB.com at Bat app. Stay up to the moment at any moment with game day, live game video, highlights, StatCast, a lot more than that. Just download it. The #1 app for live baseball on your phone and tablet, MLB.com at Bat. Our producer Josh Hall, our director Roy Alfers, Chris Wells, Jim Day, our entire crew. Tom Brenneman back at Great American Ballpark in downtown Cincinnati. Another real good crowd here tonight. At nearly 26,000 last night. Every bit of that so far here tonight. 5-2 Cardinals. Reds bat last of the 5th inning. And Josh Smith, a pitcher who will take over on the mound for Cody Reed, is batting for Reed to lead off this 5th inning. Now the Reds are a man short on that bench. At least one would assume they're a man short if Cozart's unable to go. So the Reds only have 3 bench players, and one of them's a backup catcher.
One of them is Zach Cozart, who would be starting if he could. So he's got a bad finger. Maybe that would keep him even from pinch hitting. But you got Billy Hamilton and Tony Renda. And how about Smith?
How about that is right. He comes up as a pinch hitter and bangs one up the left field line for a double. Boy, Brian Price knew what he was doing. So this has to be another, disappointing start for Cody Reed. I mean, look, you're only talking about a young man, 8 starts into his major league career, and by all accounts, most people feel like it's going to be a very, very good major league career. But he gives up 4 runs in the 1st inning, serves up a home run in his final inning. He gives up 8 hits and 5 earned runs in 5 innings. Struck out 1 batter, hit a batter, walked a batter. And now the top of the order, Holt has been aboard twice, singled, scored, and has drawn a walk. Big swing on a 2-0 pitch, and Tyler comes up empty. And a beautiful bunt. The third baseman, Jerko, with an outstanding play.
Where all the defensive gems seem to be cornered right there at the hot corner. Jerko does the same type of play that Suarez did a couple of innings ago. Slow roller, fielding barehanded, gets the runner, just by a little bit. But it moves the runner to third base. So good job by Holt right there. Good team player, Tyler Holt is. All right, now you were over talking to Mike Cameron, the official scorer. And I had heard, I don't know the rules of scoring like I do the rules of baseball, but sure. Is there a rule that says if you lay a bunt down, even if it's clearly going for a base hit like Holt was, that he gets a sacrifice?
That's what I had thought. I was told many, many years ago that you always had to give the batter the benefit of the doubt. And there have been countless examples of that play right there where a guy is clearly trying to bunt for a hit. But it was always scored a sacrifice because of at least what I was told. Now Mike Cameron's forgotten more baseball and scoring baseball than I'll ever know, and he says nope.
I guess if there's any gray area, then you give the batter the benefit of the doubt. Now, Suarez just needs to make this a fly ball right here to make it a 2-run game again.
Well, he thought that 3-0 pitch was too high.
Yeah, the interesting thing here is that what will Smith do on a ground ball to either the shortstop or the second baseman? They're playing back right now. Yeah, Smith not getting much of a lead. I think he has been instructed to make sure to make that ball go through.
So a high strike on 3-1. And then the breaking ball on 3-2. And again up in the strike zone.
You know, the problem with the way that Suarez took that pitch is when you jump up like that, you automatically expand your strike zone. Of course, we see it from the side. It looked like a strike anyway. I don't think I ever saw Pete Rose take a pitch like that. I mean, he squatted everything. Everything.
Well, here's Joey, an RBI single in the first inning. To put him on in 8 consecutive plate appearances, he was going to match his career long of 9, and he tapped out to the first baseman Moss. So now Votto with a chance to deliver a 2-out hit and a 2-out RBI. 1-1.
Yeah, the high changeup right there, and Walker is living proof that high changeups can be effective.
Walker will retire. Votto to retire the side, so the Reds get a pinch hit double by pitcher Josh Smith, and then he's stranded at third.
Came up here to kind of pack his stuff up, and you know, Rick told me he had one request, and his request was I want cozy in my locker. So I got a picture from Tucker today, and it had my jersey up and everything over here. It's weird to be over here.
And that is classic Jay Bruce on his way out, taking care of his friend Zach Cozart. And the meaning of the locker is at one end of the Reds clubhouse, there are a set of lockers that basically, by seniority or terrific player, there's 2 lockers. Instead of just having 1, you get 2. Now, let me give you an example. When this ballpark opened, King Griffey Jr. owned that locker for many, many years. Then it was Jay Bruce for many, many years. And now, turn the reins over to Zach Cozart. So, Jay Bruce, being Jay Bruce, on his way out of town.
And we wish Jay nothing but the very best. Had a chance to talk with him for a little while before the Sunday game, which he did not start in San Diego. Trade deadline, of course, coming on an off day for the Reds. Bruce came down here to the ballpark, cleared out his locker. A few others were around to say goodbye and talked to many, many others on the telephone after the trade was made. And Jay took a commercial flight out of CVG on his way to New York. And boy, you talk about jumping right into the old frying pan. How about the Subway Series? His first game there last night, although Jay went hitless. His Mets roughed up the Yanks. It's going the other way so far tonight. Peralta hooks one to left center, run down by Holt. 1 out. And you look back, some of the highlights for Jay Bruce. 12th pick overall in 2005. 3 times went to the All-Star game, including this year. 7th most home runs in team history, the most ever here at Great American Ballpark. And the first player traded during a season while leading his league in runs batted in with 80. And of course, we'll always remember the home run in 2010 that Jay Bruce hit at this ballpark against the Houston Astros, sending the Reds to a National League Central Division title. Backhanded by De Jesus. Boy, the left side of that Reds infield tonight has been dynamite. Josh Smith has retired the front 2.
Smith has got that job of being the long man. They sometimes called the mop-up guy, but it's not always that situation. He's in it for his 18th ball game. And you don't know when you're going to pitch, and when you're called on, you may be the first guy in the ball game, or you may be the last guy in the game if you go extra innings to go deep enough. Not overpowering, never has been. Went to Lipscomb University down in Tennessee, and he just got to the big leagues because he can control his fastball and has a nice slider.
Cardinals have action in their bullpen. Matt Bowman, a right-hander we saw in the game last night, has really taken the spot of Seth Maness in that bullpen. Maness has been a mainstay down there ever since his rookie year. Rock solid right from the time that he was called up to the big leagues. But while Maness has not thrown as well as in years past, Bowman is more than been up to filling those shoes.
Of course, they're waiting for Trevor Rosenthal, their closer, to come back off the disabled list. They hope to have him back at the end of this month.
Well, it depends on who you ask if they want him back so soon.
He's had some arm issues that have kept him from really performing the way he has in the past. So the Cardinals certainly not a perfect team. Not this year anyway, like in years past, but they're still right in the thick of things, especially when it comes to that wild card race. In fact, with the loss by Miami to the Cubs today, they are tied for, I think, first in the wild card, or second in the wild card.
That second wild card spot.
Dodgers are first, and Cardinals are right there.
Dodgers with a winning percentage of .557. That's the best second place record. And you have Miami 57-51, Cardinals 56-50. But of course, very much in that mix would be the New York Mets, Pittsburgh Pirates still in it, and Colorado is in it.
And if Colorado is going to do anything, of course, they're going to have to do it without their star young shortstop, Trevor Story, who is out for the year, unfortunately, with a broken thumb. That's a shame.
Yeah, it really is. Story, one of the great stories right from opening day. So Waka going to be taken down for the pinch hitter Matt Adams. Waka goes 5, allows 2 runs, 6 hits, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. The 85 pitches in the game for Michael Waka. I understand the radio talk show lines, phone lines were blowing up today in St. Louis. Fans livid about what went down last night with the Cardinal closer. Not that he came in so much in the 8th inning, but the fact that when he came into the game, his spot wound up coming up with the bases loaded in the top of the 9th inning. And of course, you can understand Mike Matheny letting O hit. You just brought him in the game in the 8th, got out of the bases loaded, nobody out, jam, and you were going to want to use him, of course, in the 9th with no Rosenthal. I don't know how in the world you argue with the job, though, that Mike Matheny has done. He is the only manager in the history of Major League Baseball, the only one who has taken each of his 4 teams to the playoffs to start a managerial career. So he's in his 5th year, and the Cardinals are right in the hunt. He's already managed 43 postseason games and has the 3rd most wins, postseason wins, since 2012.
Well, anytime you make a short list of the best managers in the game, Terry Francona's on that list, and so is Mike Matheny. Bruce Bochy's on that list year to year. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. I mean, a lot of the Cardinal way is Mike Matheny. That's a good pitch right there. Down and in with that slider is where Smith wants it.
I'll tell you another guy who's one great manager, and personally I never really got along with him very well. We were together for a number of years in Arizona, but you know what? Sometimes you just got to give the credit where it's due. At the end of the day, there is no finer manager in baseball than Showalter. Once the game begins, he's as good as it gets. the Red Sox take on Adrian Gonzalez and the Dodgers. Boy, that's a nice interleague series. Action begins Saturday, 4 o'clock Eastern, to watch it live on Fox Sports Go. All right, Bowman will take over on the mound. Reds trail 5-2 as they come to bat here in the last of the 6th inning. And what we're talking about, what a year it's been so far for Bowman. His 38th game, 3 losses, a win. ERA at 2.9, league batting .201 against him. And better, well, nearly a 3-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio. Nothing wrong with those numbers by Bowman. Reds have seen him so far this year, 2 2/3 innings. He's not given up a run. He's given up 1 hit. Duvall to be followed by Phillips and Shebler. Reds got both of their runs in the 1st inning. They have 2 hits since, one of them by pitcher Josh Smith. Balance swing lifted down the line and dropped down the line. Duvall has a chance to end up at 3rd, and he will easily get to 3rd. And it's thrown by and into the stands, and the runner will be given home. It's in the stands, and Duvall will score to make it 5-3.
A Little League home run.
And you know what? It doesn't matter if you're 9 years old or if you're 25 years old. You're just as thrilled about it.
I mean, when the ball comes off the bat, are you even thinking that there's a possibility that you'll be rounding 3rd and heading for home by the time this play is over? An off-speed pitch looks like a splitter right there. And it just goes off the glove of the right fielder, Piscotty. Piscotty had some problems defensively in center field last night. And he plays this one into a home run, at least in my book.
Well, it'll be officially scored a triple and then a throwing error on Piscotty, allowing the runner Duvall to score. Mike Matheny is coming out to visit with Scott Berry, the home plate umpire, just to get some clarification on the ball popping in the air over there near the stands, and a fan catching that ball. Did the fan reach over? But it looked like a fan had already touched the ball after it had bounced going into the stands. He's going to ask the umpires to make sure.
All right, now does it touch a fan in the stands when he's in the stands, or does he reach over? Now, not at this one, but before that. The first time it bounds off, it looks like it goes off the top of that padding. That's Bowman, the pitcher over there, backing up 3rd base.
He was pretty cool about it over there.
Yeah.
While that fan was sitting there, you know, swiping for the ball. At least he got a slight grin across his face.
The guy doing all the talking on your left is Tom Hallion. He's the crew chief. There's Piscotty, the right fielder.
I thought the other angle we had that showed it sort of short hopping the wall, but then once it did short hop the wall, it looked like it hit a fan in the hand before it came back out, where the fella next to him with a glove on reached out and caught it with his mitt.
I do like this view, though, with both managers. And then, of course, the center screen going back and forth between umpire, player, review, replay again. This is what they're looking at in New York.
They're challenging where the runner should be placed.
Well, he's already to third base, is he not? When?
Yep. And the creative minds in the Reds video production booth crank on a little Tom Petty. The waiting is the hardest part. See, that's where I thought it hit the fan's hand.
Well, it looked like Duvall was already to third at the time if that ball did go into dead ball territory.
It's taken a mighty long time. Well, if you can see the ball, that is the first time a fan touches a ball. And, you know, a little difficult to tell in relation to the line and would it have stayed in the field of play. And they're going to send the runner back to third base.
Yeah, and you know why they're going to do that is because when the ball goes into dead ball territory, you get two bases from the position of the runner at the time of the pitch, not necessarily at the time that the ball went into the stands.
'36 challenge of the year by Mike Matheny. 21 of the 36 where he's challenged. They've been overturned. We understand adding, you know, a little bit more information from the umpires downstairs. They are saying fan interference did occur on that ball,
which makes it a dead ball immediately. So
that's why they're keeping him at third base.
Right.
Instead of awarding him home.
The ball did not touch a fan in the stands until the second time when that fan reached over.
Correct.
Makes sense.
All right, so let's see if the Reds can get him in. Brandon Phillips is 1 of 2 in the game. Had a fielder's choice run batted in the first inning, and then Brandon single dribbled one through into center field in the third. So it has scored a triple, and obviously no error given to Piscotty on the throw to third. And they're going to get him in and put another run on at the same time. So that's a pretty good combination. Brandon, his second run batted in tonight, and that makes it a 5-3 game and nobody out here in the 6th inning.
Now you can see that Bowman gets a lot of ground balls, and you find a hole, you become a hero, you hit it right at somebody, and you make an easy out. Second hit on the night for Brandon.
So now Schebler representing the tying run, and we know what kind of power this guy has. He has a single into right field, and then he flied out to the warning track and left his last time up. Hit off the end of the bat.
You know, I'd have to go back and look at tape, but it just seems like Scott Schebler is holding his hands lower now than he did earlier in the year. He seemed to be more conventional. Maybe he was taking some advice from people at spring training. But he's holding his hand so low that it's almost a style where some old timer will come up to you and say, son, you can't hit like that in the big leagues. Because he really never quite gets him up there into what hitting coaches will call the box. Just a little area right off the back shoulder, about 4 or 5 inches off your body, and just about even with the back shoulder. Sometimes guys hold it higher than others, but he's holding them very low.
They get one and they get 2. Schebler 1 for 3 in a game tonight. Bases wiped empty. 2 away in the inning. A 2-run game, and the inning will continue for Ivan De Jesus Jr. That'll go 4-5-3 with that shift that the Cardinals had put on defensively. Now this is, by all accounts, for those who watch the Cardinals play every day, and I think now
Brian Price is going to ask for a review of the phantom tag at second base. They wanted to make sure that the third baseman who was covering the second base, turning that double play, was actually in contact with the bag.
Well, the Reds are going to win this one. I mean, he is nowhere near the bag. So we'll just hold everything here for a minute. The scoring on it still might be 4-5-3, but the runner might be safe at second base because you still threw it to the third baseman. Brian Price is, so far this year, challenged calls 30 times. 17 of the 30 have been overturned. So Brandon Phillips will indeed be safe at second base. A good challenge by the manager Price. 1 out, runner at second base. We're at the bottom of the 6th inning. Here's De Jesus, and he is down a strike.
Just to give you an idea how different hitters set up so dramatically different. Remember how Schebler was holding his hands just above his belt buckle. And watch, by contrast, where Ivan De Jesus Jr. holds the bat as he sets up, way up behind his right ear.
One and 2 on Ivan. If DeJesus can bring the Reds within a run, they trail by 2, batting here in the bottom of the 6th inning. DeJesus 1 of 2 on the night. Base hit left field. This will score Phillips, and it is a 1-run game. So a good challenge by Brian Price, and a good piece of hitting by Ivan DeJesus Jr.
DeJesus hit one even harder last night, but it was right after shortstop, resulting in a double play ball. Here he finds the hole, and he drives the run in right there. We are in a tight ball game.
So now Tucker. Barnhart takes down low, ball 1. Barnhart a solo home run, a couple of walks in a game here last night. He has 6 home runs already this year. And without Devin Mesoraco last year, Reds catchers for the season had 4 home runs. Be a good time to get number 7 right here and right now for Tucker Barnhart. Ground ball sharply hit to the shortstop, but this is an easy double play, and that will end the inning. But the Reds come up with a pair. RBIs by Phillips and DeJesus. It's a 1-run game.
Is presented by authority of the Cincinnati Reds. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
All right, so the Reds get a pair after falling behind 4-0 after a half inning. They got 2 in the bottom of the first. Cardinals got the home run by Piscotty in the 5th to make it a 3-run spread before the Reds 2 in the bottom of the 6th. 5-4, 5 runs, 8 hits, 4 left for the Redbirds. 4 runs, 9 hits, and 4 left on base for the Reds. Josh Smith to begin his 2nd inning of work. A scoreless 6th. No hits allowed. He walked a batter, struck out a batter. Cardinals have the top of the order coming up against him. Breaking ball stays high. And it's 2-2 on Tommy Pham to be followed by Jerko and then Piscotty. This trio's been right in the middle of much of the Cardinals scoring tonight. They've scored 3 of the 5 St. Louis runs. Not this time to begin the inning, though. Pham gone on strikes.
We talked about the slider that Smith has, and it's, you know, I think what partly helps Smith is the fact that he doesn't throw hard. That hitters get a good look at his pitches coming up there, but if he can control them, he just puts himself in a position to let them get themselves out, if that makes any sense.
Straight up in the air down the left field line. Jerko has a lot of power. This one in the corner, but well fouled.
You know, on that same point, I used to think that Aroldis Chapman didn't get the advantage of a low outside strike because he threw so hard and it was so hard to follow that umpires were reluctant to call them strikes rather than balls because they didn't get a good look at them. Whereas if you throw a little bit slower, like Bronson Arroyo, you take a lot of hacks because you see it and you tend to chase pitches that are out of the zone a little bit more.
Breaking ball hit off the end of the bat. And Bono will feed Smith. Boy, a good thing Smith got over there. That's normally the kind of ball the first baseman will just take it himself to the bag. But as every pitcher is taught to do when it goes to the right side, get over there. So 2 up, 2 down for Smith. Pretty good looking curveball right there. Snaps in there at the knees, strike 1. Scotty homered his last time up. These Cardinals are playing without their outstanding leadoff man, long-time third baseman after originally moving from second to third. And they've moved him over to second a little bit at times this year, Matt Carpenter. He is scheduled to come off the disabled list this Friday. Strike 3 call. That's good morning, good afternoon, and good night. Breaking ball, change up, 93 heater. Dodgers August 19th through the 22nd. That's a 4-game series, and thanks to our friends at Reach Magazine, you can catch all the action and save with the 4 for $48 ticket offer. Now you know the drill there. View level, 4 tickets, great seats. Along with that, you get 4 Reds hats. All of that for $48. 381-REDS or visit reds.com/448. All right, Cardinals going to go their bullpen now. And they're going to bring on the left-hander, recently acquired Zach Duke. Tony Renda pinch hitting for the Reds, and that didn't last long. 1 pitch and 1 out to begin the 7th in a 1-run game.
Zach Duke just recently acquired from the Chicago White Sox. One of the few deals the Cardinals have made this year. Left-hander who's been around a long time. He's in his 13th year as a major leaguer, on and off as a starter with the Pittsburgh Pirates. He's been with Arizona, the Nationals. Actually spent some time with the Reds in 2013, pitched in 14 ball games with this Redlegs team. Milwaukee, last couple of seasons with the White Sox. He's a survivor. I mean,
that's what I was going to say. He's remade himself.
Yeah. I mean, for the first 6 or 7 years of his career, he was a starter. In fact, he was an all-star in 2009. Kind of a hard-throwing left-hander with a tight breaking ball. Pitched 213 innings that year. He was an all-star.
It's funny how those lefty relievers, though, when they get older, and we've seen 100 of them through the years, it seems like 98 of the 100 have pitched for the Cardinals. And I say that in a good way because, you know, they get a lot of these guys a little later in their career. They seem to drop down a little more. They had your old buddy gone on strikes is Tyler Holt, your old buddy Tony Fawcett, although Duke throws a lot harder than he did. But I mean, even more recently, Randy Choate, guys like that through the years.
You know, I've always wondered why teams don't have a sidearm laboratory. Every year at spring training, you know, you're releasing probably 20 pitchers, maybe 30 pitchers out of the minor league camp. Well, why don't you grab a dozen of them, righties and lefties, and see who takes to throwing sidearm, and you just never know. I mean, you might come up with a curveball that you never had from over the top. You know, once you start throwing sidearm, you can throw the radar gun right out the window. Because the hitters never practice hitting off a batting practice pitcher throwing that low. Every time you throw that low, you hit the batting screen in front of you. The key, though, is a lot of times a guy who drops down like that can't get, if he's a lefty, can't get a right-hand hitter out. Like Javier Lopez is one of those examples in San Francisco. He came in and got Bruce and Votto out, but they take him out as soon as a right-hander stepped to the plate.
2-2 the count on Suarez. We're in the bottom of the 7th inning. 5-4, Cardinals in front. And a ground ball to short, and that is a tidy inning for Zach Duke. That's why they went to get him. 1, 2, 3 go the Reds. We go to the 8th. 5-4, St. Louis in front. lead in the first inning. Greg Garcia capped off the 4-run opening inning with a 2-run, 2-out single to center field. Reds got 2 in the first. Joey Votto knocked in 1 on a base hit, extending his hitting streak to 17 games in a row. Stayed 4-2 until Piscotty hit a solo home run in the 5th, making it 5-2. And the Reds scored twice in the 6th. Brandon Phillips after a triple by Duvall. And then Brandon would score after an overturned call at second base on a single by Ivan De Jesus Jr. So you are up to speed. 5 runs, 8 hits, 4 left on base for St. Lou. 4 runs, 9 hits, 4 left for the Reds. Reed went 5, allowed 5. The Reds got 2 excellent innings out of Josh Smith. He did not allow a hit.
Yeah, they did. Now they're going to turn to Michael Lorenzen. Lorenzen's been good. Got scored upon first couple of games he pitched, but lately he has not given up much at all. Pitched twice on that recent road trip, once against the Giants, both against the Padres. All 3 performances were scoreless.
I remember that game though Sunday in San Diego. His control was very much off. You saw in 19 innings he's walked 8. Now he only walked 1, although he allowed a hit as well in that scoreless inning, striking out 2. He hit a batter. You may remember he had the bases loaded after a 1-out single, a walk, and a hit batter. But he struck out Jabari Blash, a San Diego right fielder, and got Christian Bethancourt on a laser into left field to win the inning. We are in the top of the 8th, and the Reds are down a single run. And that is strike 3 called, and there's another high strike. Now the home plate umpire Scott Berry has been calling that high strike, whether it's change-ups from Walker or fastballs from Lorenzen all night.
Well, our Fox Tracks has it not even all that high. Now the rule book says from the belt to the top of the shoulders, the midway point is the top of the strike zone. So it's about halfway down the chest as the hitter takes a swing. It's got to be one of the more difficult parts of the strike zone for an umpire to decipher.
First pitch swinging is Brandon Moss to Hopper. That is to the shortstop. De Jesus on the shift, and just like that, Lorenzen has thrown 4 pitches and has recorded a couple of outs. Reds will have Votto, Duvall, and Phillips hoping for more than that in the last of the 8th inning. Molina is hitless tonight. He's in the on-deck circle. He came in like Votto with a 16-game hitting streak. That one pulled foul. Tell you, Peralta can still hit a fastball now. That was at 96 miles per hour, and he was all over.
Actually, he was ahead of it.
Lorenzen came back at 93 miles per hour, down and away. 3-1. Be careful here with that fastball on location if that's what you're throwing. You run that in, he'll hit it a mile. Hit it hard. De Jesus will throw, and the tag is, the call is out of the baseline. Peralta running out of the baseline, and that will end the inning. So a 1-2-3-8 for Michael Lorenzen. Votto, Duvall, Phillips. Let's take a look here now.
Well, the rule book says you give 3 feet when you're avoiding a tag, and I think he tagged him anyway. I don't think whether running out of the baseline is a reviewable call or not. The throw gets wide by DeJesus. Votto gets the ball. Now, I would not call him out of the baseline right there. He avoided the tag, but you've got to go more than 3 feet out of the baseline to violate the rule.
Well, you saw Peralta. He never touched the bag. Now, he would eventually get back there. He's standing on it right now. The question is, did he tag him? If he tagged him, the rest of this is irrelevant.
Oh, yeah.
Sure looked like he did. So we're going to take a break. Reds will come to bat, trailing by a run. The Reds live on Fox Sports Ohio. It's presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing. Now, no television for tomorrow's game. That's a 12:35 tilt. Tickets are available. Brandon Finnegan coming off his best start in well over a month and a half. Great outing in San Diego. And he'll be opposed by the longtime Red. Traded away to the Giants last year. Mike Leake, an 8-8 record. ERA at 4.5 after signing as a free agent with the Cardinals during the offseason. All right, 1-run game. Reds trailing. Kevin Segrist comes on to face Joey Votto. Votto has had next to 0 success against Segrist, although it should be noted he had a base hit off of him last night. Votto 2 of 13 with a home run and 4 walks in his career against Segrist.
This is the kind of at bat, though, that even though the numbers aren't great for Votto against Segrist, this is the kind of at bat that Votto really looks forward to.
Well, Segrist is their big gun from the left side out of the bullpen, even with the acquisition of Duke. I mean, that gives you an idea about theoretically how good this Cardinal bullpen could be. All right, GS bringing the energy. Votto trying to make it what would be a career best and a Reds best. Streak of reaching base in 16 consecutive games 2 or more times. So he has a 17-game hitting streak already tonight. But that was the only time thus far in 3 at-bats that he's reached base. 2-2 on Votto. And he's gone swinging.
Now Seagrass combines that combination of a low to mid-90s fastball and a real tight slider. That time he just punches that fastball right out on the corner and takes Votto down on strikes. Now the matchup now between Seagrass and Duvall happened last night. Duvall's home run came on a high curveball from Seagrass. I wonder if he'll get one of those tonight or whether Seagrass will just stay with the fastball.
Ball 1 on Duvall, 1 of 3, tripled in the 6th inning and scored. 84 mile per hour off speed there by Seagrass, and it's fouled away. 1 ball and 1 strike. Brandon Phillips next, and then Shepley. Reds beginning to run out of outs in this one, only down by a single run. 5 to play with here in the last of the 8th inning. 2-1.
And when Seagrass was drafted, it was in 2008. He was drafted in the 41st round, and he was throwing in the 80s. And he says, you know, I don't know what happened to me. All of a sudden, maybe I just turned into a man. The Cardinals got him out of Palm Beach Community College, and he went from about 86 to 96, seemingly in 1 year. And that propelled him to the major leagues. Made the big leagues at age 23.
I was going to say, it wasn't much longer out of Palm Beach Community College. We saw him with a big league club throwing gas.
And it was 45 games and a 0.45 earned run average.
Right.
His first year with the Cardinals.
There's ball 4. So the Reds have a tying run aboard. Brandon Phillips in his career 2 of 10 against Seagrass with a double, a walk, and 4 strikeouts. Brandon has 2 hits, 2 runs batted in, has scored a run. Ball 1. Seagrass had some health issues from time to time since that incredible start to his major league career, and you have to wonder, Chris, if that's kept him from becoming the Cardinals' closer at any point in time. You know, Rosenthal was a starter there for quite a while. They moved him to the bullpen. There was a lot of disagreement about, you know, Rosenthal wanted to be a starter again. They kept him in the bullpen. And the Cardinals are the kind of team where they are not afraid if a closer is struggling, he will lose his job in that organization right now.
In fact, I think they prefer having multiple closers. I think the last year they won the World Series, they had 8 different pitchers have saves.
That's right.
In the same season. You know, they also could be that Seagrass would be more valuable as a setup man, used whenever, than just automatically stuck into the 9th inning in a save situation. I mean, you can bring him in a high leverage time when you're going to be facing the tough lefties.
Mm-hmm. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Brandon, tying run at first base. And a throw will send Duvall back to the bag. Duvall only 2 steals in 7 attempts.
out Jim Day.
Jim Day's on top of his game down there. Well, theoretically, anyway. That one gets away from Molina, and now the Reds have Duvall moving into scoring position, representing the tying run.
Well, a wild pitch, yes, by Seegers. He's been living down in the dirt before. You'd go a month at a time between seeing this from Yadier Molina. I mean, to actually see daylight between the wickets. That doesn't happen very often.
Can Brandon get him in? Short center field. Fan was already playing in. He better get back to the bag, and Duvall does. 2 away in the inning. So now it's Schebler against the left-hander Segrist. Last night was a hero against the closer and did he lay into one down the right field line just fair with 2 aboard to win it. Schebler tonight a single his first time up, line to left in the 4th, and then hit a ground ball to the second baseman his last time up. Strike 1. Breaking ball gets away from Molina, but not taking the chances. Duvall. 2 balls and a strike. That's right on the nose there.
Yeah, the 2 strikes that Segrist has thrown to Schebler in this at bat, just perfect pitcher's pitches.
2-2 on Schebler. The tying run is at second base with 2 away in the 8th. Oh, slow breaking ball. Schebler geared up for that 95+ gas, and that one floated in there. Mentioned earlier was to a right-handed batter Duvall, where Segrist made the mistake with a curveball last night. Schebler perhaps hoping he could hang one right here in the bottom of the 8th inning. Down the left field line, hit hard towards the corner. Foul ball. Went with a fastball that time away, and Schebler tried to shoot it that way.
Pretty good idea by Schebler. After that curveball, he's going to get something hard, almost guaranteed, and that ball just couldn't stay fair. That ball again up. Scheffler might be one of those left-handed hitters that prefers the ball a little bit higher in the zone than lower in the zone.
Duvall carries a tying run out there at second base. To a fastball right by him, and that'll end the inning. We go to the ninth. Sports Ohio brought to you by Kroger. Stop by your Kroger neighborhood and big store-wide savings. Great food, low prices at Kroger, and by Toyota. For over 30 offers, visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. All right, one more time, I want to remind you about this ticket offer going on thanks to FS Ohio. You can get bleachers tickets for any of the 4 Dodger games, the 19th of August through the 22nd, for $9. But you have to do it. This offer is only good through the end of tonight's post-game show. So go to reds.com/FSOhio and use the promo code FSOhio. So get on that right now. Michael Lorenzen begins his second inning of work. And he drills Molina to begin the inning. And the hitting streak for Yadier Molina, more than likely, unless we go extra innings, is over. He's walked and been hit by a pitch, but 0 for 2 in between.
He doesn't look one bit happy. He's got an elbow pad on, Molina does, but that ball looked like it got him on the forearm, which is completely unprotected.
So now Garcia. He had a 2-run single in that 4-run opening inning against Red starter Cody Reed, who is still the pitcher of record in this game. In fact, both starters are. Walker for the Cardinals. Slow roller. Votto will go to second, and that's all they'll get. And now a pinch hitter going to come up for Segrist. Or that was part of a double switch, I beg your pardon. And Jeremy Hazelbacher will bat. Cardinals normally always double switch with Matt Holliday, and that's exactly who was removed as part of the double switch when Segrist entered the game. Hazelbacher 8 home runs, 21 runs batted in. Made his major league debut on opening day this year. The guy played over 750 minor league games before he made his major league debut. There's a line drive into center field. And Hazelbucker retired on one pitch. So Lorenzen now an out away from getting through 2 scoreless innings out of the bullpen. If you're looking ahead to the bottom of the ninth, the Reds have 7, 8, and 9. DeJesus, Barnhart, and then the pitcher spot. And the only players left on the Reds bench are Billy Hamilton and the backup catcher Ramon Cabrera. Here's Tommy Pham. Led off the game with a single. Hitless in 3 at-bats since until this one shot through the right side. So first and second for Jerko here in the ninth.
Pham really likes hitting the ball the other way. It looks like he just keeps his hands back. He explodes on the ball towards right center field.
Jerko is 1 of 4, doubled and scored in the opening inning. Has bounced to third. Had a home run taken away on a leaping grab by Schebler up and over the wall in right in the 5th. And then grounded out to Votto in the 7th. Lorenzen needs to really bear down here and keep this at a 1-run ball game. And he will get the final out. Nice work by Lorenzen tonight. 2 innings. Allowed only 1 hit and no runs. Here we go. Bottom of the ninth. Can the Reds do it again? Here on Fox Sports Ohio for Reds Live, brought to you by Performance Kings Honda. Get a complete recap, breakdown, interviews from the clubhouse. Reds hoping to celebrate against Sung Hwan Oh the way they did last night. Cardinal closer came on in the 8th inning last night, got out of a bases loaded, nobody out jam. But it did not go well for him in the last of the 9th. Gave up a couple of hits and then the home run, game-winning home run to Schebler. DeJesus to lead things off. Barnhart next, and then we'll see. Starts him off speed. And DeJesus looking fastball way out in front, comes up empty. Sounded like a broken bat roller to the shortstop. And Peralta throws out DeJesus to start the bottom of the ninth. Cardinals not quite sure how long Trevor Rosenthal is going to be out. And there is a base hit into right field by Tucker Barnhart. So the tying run aboard, the winning run will come to the plate. All right, so here do you think about, you only have 2 position players now left on your bench. You're going to use Cabrera. Do you pinch run Billy Hamilton? Yep, here he comes now.
And I think that the important thing here is to try to give Billy Hamilton a pitch in which he's going to steal second base.
So Hamilton will pinch run. These are the final 2 players left if you don't include Zach Kozar. Technically, he is still available on that Reds bench, although unable to start due to the injured ring finger. An injury that occurred before the game last night.
And I think you send Hamilton as soon as you possibly can. Now, Molina is one of the best in the game, but Hamilton has stolen many bases off him.
In fact, Billy, 14 of 16 in stolen base attempts, with Yadier Molina catching. The 14 steals are the most of any base runner against his perennial all-star and Gold Glove winning Cardinal catching.
Now the pitcher has not given up a stolen base yet this year.
Ramon Cabrera only got 1 start on that just completed road trip. Pinch hitter, 13 at bats, has 4 base hits, and looks at a strike. Hamilton has not run on either of the first 2 offerings.
Well, the thing about it is that O did not waste any much time. He really hasn't allowed Hamilton to get any kind of feel for timing out there. Short lead by Billy now.
Last night was the first blown save chance by O. Was a perfect 7 of 7. Big swing and a foul tip into the mid of Molina, and O ahead at 1 ball, 2 strikes. Hamilton trying to get a read on O to try and get a big jump. That's a huge run over there at first base. A tying run here in the bottom of the ninth. There goes Billy. And if Cabrera doesn't foul that off, Hamilton goes in standing up. He got a running lead.
Well, actually, he was hung up there in no man's land because he took off before O even decided to go to the plate. I think the Cardinals are fortunate that they didn't have a balk called on Molina, on Yadier Molina behind the plate. I mean, a catcher has to be standing in the catcher's box. When that pitch is on its way. Hardly ever called. And that even it goes for when you're having an intentional walk.
In the air, short left center field. Pham, the call and the catch, and the Reds are down to their final out. Only once during that at bat did Hamilton attempt to run. O did a nice job. So here comes Tyler Holt as the Reds are down to their final out of the night. Boy, the Colorado Rockies have a better win-loss record than the Reds since the All-Star break. The Reds at 11-5. They have won all 5 of their post-All-Star break series. They need 1 win in this series to make it 6 in a row. Hamilton running, and no chance. And Molina just shaking his head. Hamilton, number 37. He's only been thrown out 5 times. So now base hit ties this up. Hold a single in the first inning. The left scored. Walked in the second. Robbed of his second hit on a good play by Jerko in the 5th, and he struck out in the 7th inning. Two and 0. Spins one in there for a strike. Holt making his first start since June the 19th. That's when the Reds were in Houston. He started in right field that night. Two and 2. Each of these teams knows plenty about losing 1-run decisions. Only the Padres have more than the Reds and the Brewers. And the Cardinals with 17 of them. They've lost in walk-off fashion, have the Cardinals, each of their last 2 games. Sunday in Miami. And last night here to the Reds on a Schebler home run. Tying run at second. 2 strikes, 2 outs in the 9th. Nearly hit him. Reds probably wish it did so they could give Suarez a shot. Blazing speed of Hamilton carries a tying run at second. Able to fight it off his hold on a 3-2 pitch with 2 outs. It's good plate coverage there to stay alive. The 3-2 pitch once more. And that's the old ball game. O able to save it tonight. His 8th save of the year. He gives up a hit in the 9th inning, but nails it down for a walk of the winner at 7-7. And Cody Reed slips to 0-6 to begin his major league career. Our Volkswagen drive of the game. The last Cardinal run they scored. They got 4 in the first, and in the home run by Piscotty in the 5th. And 1 run, the difference in this one, in a 5-4 Cardinal decision. Reds Live, the post-game edition, is coming up next. Reds fall to the Cardinals. 5-4 rubber game tomorrow.